You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I am joined, as always, by your co-hosts, Kevin and Alex. Guys, how are we doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. It is another Tuesday night. It's a little rainy up here where I'm at today, but nice fall type weather here in Colorado as the seasons change. So we got week 5 in the books and looking forward to week 6. How are you guys doing?
That's funny. It's a little rainy down here in the heart of Texas too. Let's just send it on down. That was a fun, exciting week of football. First off, it started on Saturday, which was an unbelievable Saturday of college football. And then it just carried itself on over into Sunday. That Oklahoma-Texas game, I know we're here to talk NFL, but if I could for just a second, that Oklahoma-Texas game was one of the best college football games I've seen in a very, very, very long time. Probably since USC-Texas in the national title game or Boise State-Oklahoma. That football game was insane.
Alex,
it wasn't good defensively.
Right.
But it was an unbelievable game. And then on the nightcap, A&M knocks off Alabama, and now we see the Georgia Bulldogs sitting there at number 1 in the AP poll.
It's where they should have been for the last 3 weeks.
Probably. That defense is loaded.
Lights out, man. That defense is lights out.
That defense is going to be like Alabama on draft night. You're just going to see Georgia Bulldog coming from that defense.
I'm going to brag on my team here for two quick seconds, but I was reading just some random articles, and they were doing metric comparisons of the 2011 Alabama defense and this 2021 Georgia Bulldog defense, and Georgia might smash some of those defensive records that Alabama team had. Like, to only give up 33 points through 6 games is unheard of, but then you start looking, their first in rush defense and like 5th in passing defense. No, the other way around, or whatever it is. But I mean, there's just guys all over the field, and it's not just one guy. So
it's studs.
I'm super pumped.
Yeah.
But yes, the Oklahoma game was fun. But if Oklahoma could actually, play to their potential, they wouldn't have to come from behind against all these teams and win.
Although to speak on my Sooners' behalf here, They actually, that looked like Oklahoma football in the second half. That first half was what we had seen over the Spencer Rattler era and have come accustomed to during that. But it was a very different story once you saw Caleb Williams come in, and really that team seemed to have some juice. The running game was working. They were sustaining drives. They were doing lots of really good things. They held that Texas team to only 10 points in the second half there. So a complete turnaround on both sides of the ball, which was really, really interesting and fun to see, and something I'm excited to see the rest of the season. So, but yeah, I would not look forward to, because I have watched the last 2 Georgia games as well. I'm not looking forward to with the way this is probably going to shake out, because if my Sooners can run the table, they're probably going to end up with that 4th seed, just the way things are going to shake up. And Georgia's probably going to end up with that 1 seed, and we're headed to heartbreak in the first round of the semifinals yet again, I think. But anyway,
it is possible, just through the magic of the college ranking system, we could see like a total defensive bound college football playoff game, like between Georgia, Iowa, Cincinnati, and then possibly, if
Alabama can still sneak their way in there.
Like, they can, but
don't count that out.
I'm talking just defensively.
Bias out.
No. I'm talking just defensively. And like, if Penn State can run the table and Penn State gets back in somehow, like, holy crap, man, your national title game could be 13-3.
with 2 defensive touchdowns and a missed PAT. Like,
right.
So guys, we do have a couple of comments coming in here, so we're gonna go ahead and hit some of those up before we get into our week 5 reactions. where we're kind of at from and what our takeaways were from week 5. But Shooter Shoots Basketball Pod over on Twitter is saying, have a great show, guys. Kyler for MVP. I know Kevin is rooting hard with you on that one because that was his preseason MVP pick. So
I have thoughts.
You have thoughts. Well, we can get to
we'll
those
get
here
to it
in just a moment. And then we also have a couple of questions coming in on YouTube. For everybody watching on Twitter, we will get to your questions, comments, all of those kind of things as soon as we can. It doesn't let me put those things on the screen here, but we are keeping an eye on those and mentioning them here. Before I get to that YouTube one, Shooter Shoot Basketball Pod saying, "Hey, same. Kevin and I are so smart." So we had
I have thoughts.
SMRT. SMRT. We got it.
We had him on during the Cardinals breakdown on the offseason and did a great job. If y'all get a chance, go check him out. Kenny over there at Shooter Shoot Basketball Pod does a great job. All right, let's go to our first question here on YouTube. Joey chimes in. Trade Edmonds for Claypool. My wide receivers are Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Jones, and Laviska Shenault. My running backs are Zeke, Gibson, and Elijah Mitchell. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'm okay with it.
I wouldn't do it.
Okay.
I think, and here's, I guess, I'll step in and say why. I don't know that Elijah Mitchell is going to continue to see the bulk of these carries, and it really has nothing to do with Trey Sermon.
Wilson.
It has Jeff Wilson Jr. coming back into the fray. Like, there's another mouth to feed who was going to be the number one guy coming into this season. And so I think Elijah Mitchell is actually going to start fading down the stretch. So you're going to want Trey Edmonds, because if that the stress fracture in Gibson's leg becomes something serious, they're going to have to shut him down. And while Chase Edmonds isn't necessarily getting the touchdowns, he is seeing consistent volume inside the 20s. So he at least has a safe floor. Woods is going to start rebounding. We saw that this past Thursday night. The metrics between him and Kupp will come closer to evening out. Cortland Sutton was my pick for Shine of the Week last week. Ended up with a great game. Over 120 yards and a touchdown on 7 receptions. Marvin Jones is going to be hit or miss. Like, that's where, honestly, I'd try and trade like Jones and Mitchell and see if you can get Claypool. So that way you're not running 2 Jaguars. And I would probably lean Laviska Shenault. He's a little bit more dynamic at this point. So I would try to keep him, but that's where I would look for as far as the trade. But as it is, I'd keep Edmonds.
Here's why I'm okay with it, and it's because of his next comment. And this is why I'm okay with it. I like the idea that you can beef up your wide receiver pool there, and you still have, you still have, Zeke, and yeah, we got to wait on Gibson, but Mitchell will get some run for a little bit. But if Gaskin is available, you're going to have to ride the wave with Gaskin, but you're probably going to have to ride the wave with Elijah Mitchell for the next couple weeks before, that Jeff Wilson comes back. So I'm okay with it. But I totally understand what Kevin is saying. And I do like the idea of, not having to pick which Jaguars receiver you want to play, week in and week out. So I'm okay with it, but I totally understand Kevin's side of it and can see the reason why you wouldn't.
So I'll, since you guys gave him a split decision, I'll chime in here and say that if I'm sitting here and I've got the option, I'm going to stick with Chase Edmonds from the standpoint that running backs are typically harder to come by that are usable when it comes to your fantasy roster week in, week out. Chase Edmonds is that because he will see enough volume to make him relevant week in, week out. Now, looking at some of this other stuff, right? Like we saw what we all thought coming into this week, that Laviska Shenault should have a big game because of the fact that DJ Chark was out. And if anything, it went kind of the opposite route there because of the fact that Laviska Shenault needed to play more on the outside, get bumped out there. You needed to see him not necessarily play in the slot and do some of that gadget type of stuff where they manufactured touches for him. That didn't happen in this game. And I don't know that continues going forward as well, to the point where you're going to see him probably move to the outside. And for fantasy, I don't see him being as much of a playable option there for you. So that being the case where you're talking Robert Woods, Cortland Sutton, and if it's a typical league where you got 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a flex, I like the fact that I can start Robert Woods, I can start Cortland Sutton, I've got Marvin Jones as a flex, and I can play the matchups back and forth between those wide receivers, and then I can run out my running backs of Zeke, Gibson, and Chase Edmonds. And as far as the should we pick up Myles Gaskin?
Yes, just do it. I mean, you can never have enough running back depth. I mean, that just find somebody that you can drop. You know, if you've got to get rid of Shenault or somebody, if you can't flip him, pick up a running back that's going to get some run.
Shenault may still have enough trade value because of what he did,
That's
a couple
true.
of weeks leading into this, and people might see it as buying the dip. I would be looking at it as more selling high at this point on him. Kevin, you look like you're ready to chime in.
I just don't know that I'm sold on Myles Gaskin yet. Like, he had this aberration of a game because of all the use. Like, they haven't used him at all the first 4 weeks of the season. Like, he's been one of the most disappointing fantasy players across the board, barring injury, right? Of coming into this season, what we thought he was going to be, we really thought he'd see, a consistent 18 to 20 touches a game as long as he stayed healthy, and he's seeing like 5. And then all of a sudden he sees, a 10 reception game. And I guess I just don't know that I'm sold. Like, I think while yes, it's good to have running back depth, I don't know that I'm just dropping anybody for Myles Gaskin. Like, I would want it. Like, I would drop Cole Beasley for Myles Gaskin. Like, I would drop. I would probably drop a Tim Patrick from the Broncos for Myles Gaskin. Like, that type of thing. But honestly, if that's what your waiver wire is kind of looking like, there's a good chance like Kadarius Toney's out there, and I would drop Marvin Jones for Kadarius Toney and then plug him into your flex spot after seeing what the Giants are going to have to do to stay in these games, because Barkley can't stay healthy. Galladay's out again. We have no idea when Shepard and Slayton are returning from their hamstring injuries.
And Mike Glennon found him.
Yeah.
That was a big thing. Mike Glennon found Kadarius Toney.
Yeah, and the dude was out of this world great until he decided to punch a dude in his helmet.
Understood. Who punches a guy with a – I'll never understand it. I never understood it.
Yeah.
Never understood
I don't either. But as far as what he did, he played great. And I think that's a sign of some things to come possibly for the back end, which is great for him. And it kind of defeats my narrative of I thought he was just going to be absolutely nothing this season. And sure enough, he showed up a couple games to at least bring my attention to him. I don't know that I'm going out of my way just yet, but my attention's on him now.
Right. And that's actually, I was going to comment in and say that I'm a little surprised to hear you come that far back around after kind of going through some of the draft analysis that we went through and going through some of those things on Kadarius Toney. So that is a complete 180.
A function of volume though, right? Like when you have your top 3 guys go down, and if you're going to feed him like that, heck, man, why not? Because if he's going to be seeing 12 targets a game, that's wide receiver 1 status, being able to consistently see that type of volume. And yes, it's just 1 week. And yes, the Cowboys defense isn't out of this world good, but the Giants only have so many ways of moving the football right now, guys. They are down so many weapons, and their defense just can't quite get it together from where they were last year. So they're going to have to throw the ball to stay in these games. And if he's going to continue to find ways to get open and be as dynamic as he was with the ball in his hand, you have to at least pay attention to him.
Right. And I brought that up more as a case of, showcasing how good he's looked on the field, and how this isn't just a knee-jerk type of reaction because of the fact that like he's actually turned your opinion from being so out on him to being in on him now in a situation where you're suggesting that type of thing. Like that's why I bring that up, to highlight how good that he's looked on that one. And 2, when you look at it, I don't see Myles Gaskin being able to keep this up from this pace either, because of a lot of what you just kind of said when you talked about the Giants. The Dolphins will be getting some of their pass catchers back, right? Like, I think this was some function of the fact that Will Fuller was out. Devontae Parker was out. So you had Jalen Waddle to throw the ball to, and who else? And it became Myles Gaskin kind of thing. So you can pick him up. I'm not looking to just drop anybody for him. Chase on YouTube is saying Javonte or Moss in PPR. I like
Javonte. Javonte will help you win a fantasy championship once we get into the back half of this season. So absolutely Javonte Williams.
Yep. Also, Chase chiming in there. Also, Hurts over Hunter Henry.
Hurts.
Yeah, Hurts. Sorry.
Both of them actually have really juicy matchups with the Eagles going up against the Buccaneers on Thursday night, and then the Patriots hosting the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. So, longer term, if you're looking to not have to stream them every week, I'd say Hunter Henry. Leading up, everybody likes to show off on national television. So in the short term, if it's a 1 week rental, then I'm probably leaning Ertz against Tampa Bay.
Well, also, too, we just saw that the news coming through that Dallas Goddard will most likely be out with a moving to the COVID reserve. So that may make it to the point where Zach Ertz is the only show in town for the tight ends, and the pass catchers there haven't necessarily shown up as a viable option there outside of Devonta Smith. So
stay tuned on the Dallas Goddard news because he is vaccinated. So if he can test positive tomorrow and Wednesday, or I think it has to be tomorrow and Wednesday. I don't think he'll get the results back fast enough on Thursday. There's still a slim chance that Goddard could play.
Same thing that Ertz was dealing with earlier in the year.
Right.
Yep.
So that would definitely probably tip the scale if Goddard does play, definitely over to Hunter Henry. But you're absolutely right. If Goddard's not going, I think it even feeds to the Hurts narrative for this week even more so.
Absolutely. Another question coming in, Greg on YouTube. Should I put a claim in for Tony and drop Ayuk? I would.
Can you drop someone worse than Ayuk?
I get
it. Ayuk's, well, but I'm just saying Ayuk, yes, has been disappointing this season, but holy crap, man. Like,
it's a 6-round capital in most cases.
Exactly. Like, and that's what I'm saying. I would hope that you have someone on your bench that's performed at a lesser level, or that has less upside, maybe I should say. That maybe he's performed slightly better than Ayuk, but has way less upside than what Brandon Ayuk can have. And grab Tony, because I do think they're going to try and get him more involved here after this bye week.
Plus, Kittle is moving to the IR as well, so you're going to have a couple of games coming off the bye week where he may be involved, and that may be the Debo and Ayuk show coming back off of that. It wouldn't surprise me. Alrighty, a couple more questions coming in here. Drew Zhao saying, "Hey guys, thoughts on the Denver D? They didn't play that well last week, but they're going against Las Vegas, who looked awful this past week. So, guys, what are your thoughts on the Denver D?" I wasn't a fan of them in the first half, but again, they looked a little bit better in that second half, and you saw Teddy Bridgewater play better than I thought Teddy Bridgewater was capable of doing in that second half.
I'll chime in quickly because Kevin's analysis is going to be much better because he was able to watch that game. But it's always tough to figure out what a team's going to look like with a new head coach. It can go any number of different ways. But I mean, if you're looking at defenses, I mean, it's a plus matchup. I would say, a favorable matchup, but there's still ways that Las Vegas, can hurt Denver. The good thing that's going for it is the game is in Denver this week. So that's a plus.
Yeah, I would agree with that. With Denver coming back home, they realize that they have to get a win, right? They need this win because it's basically for a game and a half because it's inside the division. You see that the Chiefs are still struggling as they got the brakes beat off of them by Buffalo on national television, while the Chargers kind of just keep rolling along and look really good in the process. So I think the Broncos defense will be aided by the fact that they usually do a pretty good job of getting after Derek Carr at home, and the fact that there's going to be a little sense of urgency to their game. I think the Denver defense is a good play. I don't know if it's the best play of the week, but as far as if you're streaming defenses, you could do a heck of a lot worse than the Denver defense this week.
Right. Plus, yeah. I think you've hit it on the head on the nail there. Yep, got that wrong, but we'll continue along.
How long have we been doing this?
Oh, you know.
Yeah,
right.
I would remove my headphones after that too, Kevin.
Yep. I don't blame
he didn't hear that at all.
All righty. So another question coming in on YouTube, Ray Gamer kicker question. I like kicker questions. Don't play in many leagues these days with kickers, but still have a few out there. The home league has some of those. I will probably drop Daniel Carlson, but should I pick up and play Brandon McManus versus the Raiders or Nick Folk versus the Cowboys with possible rain? Too early to say. I've got Carlson, and I'll be rolling him in our home league, and I'll just be rolling that kicker along this week as well. Any thoughts? Are you pick one of the three? Who you going with?
I mean, McManus at home in Denver is going to be okay. I don't know what the forecast is. I always like indoor kickers. Indoor kickers are my favorite because weather plays no role. And after the weekend we saw with kickers, holy freaking crap. Indoor kickers. But of these
so
three,
Nick Folk is your guy.
Well, are they?
It's in New England.
Yeah, then no.
Yeah,
I'm not going to do that. I'd take McManus. Where's Carlson play now?
He's with Las Vegas.
He's with the Raiders.
Oh,
both of those kickers are in Denver.
Yeah, I'd probably
playing at altitude.
I'd take McManus over Carlson. Although they could be kicking a ton of field goals. Las Vegas could be kicking a ton of field goals.
I kind of like the Nick Folk approach because know the Patriots should be able to move the ball against the Cowboys. Right? Like the Cowboys defense is not going to throw a whole lot of different things at Mac Jones, but they will blitz him a lot. But we saw what happened when Tampa Bay blitzed him a lot, and he was able to pick him apart and complete 19 straight passes. So we've seen what he's been able to do kind of against a subpar pass defense as far as moving the ball up and down. The rain does turn me off from it a little bit, so I'm going to lean McManus by a hair, but if there's any guessing in that, I would switch to Nick Folk and be okay.
All righty. Next one up. Ray has another one. Flex question in standard scoring. T. Higgins versus the Lions. Emmanuel Sanders versus the Titans. Darrell Williams versus the Washington football teams, or Myles Gaskin versus the Jaguars. What are your thoughts here?
With it being standard scoring,
standard scoring for me usually moves it to a running back.
Yeah.
I think it's Darrell Williams, honestly. I think he'll see 16 touches, most of which will be on the ground. Now, he's also been their third down back, so he might stay on the field a little bit more than what we think. The Washington football team defense has not been great. T. Higgins against the Lions, I like in a PPR. Emmanuel Sanders against the Titans, I like in DFS. And that's mainly because this might be like the Houston game with Tennessee, right? Their secondary is so bad. The Bills could go out, throw 35 on them in the first half, and then just kind of pull it back. And you might actually see a lot of Zach Moss and Devin Singletary in the second half.
Yeah, you very well might. I'm also leaning Darrell Williams. Standard scoring. It's running backs for me. Chase on YouTube, Pitts on a bye. Need a stream of tight end. Who's your streamer tight end this week?
That was the question from earlier. That was the Ertz or Hunter Henry. He's streaming.
Gotcha. Thank you for keeping track of that. The next comment was also for one earlier where you're saying yes to Greg on the drop IU question. Juzao chiming in again. Isn't Folk being replaced this week? Also looking to drop Carlson. LOL.
Everybody's bailing on Carlson.
I'm
It's
not.
like he's playing for the Vikings again.
I've got him on the home team. I'm sticking with him until he's not on the roster.
There you go.
There's unless some game just goes haywire, there's 4 points difference in all these kickers anyway.
Find an indoor
game, find a team who doesn't score a lot of touchdowns but can move the ball,
or a team that scores a ton of touchdowns and you're going to get PAT points.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Ray Gamer chiming back in. I know I'm starting Kyler Murray, Keenan Allen, DK Metcalf, Dalvin Cook, Kareem Hunt, and Darson Knox for standard scoring also. So that was the flex question from earlier.
Nice.
Juzao, not anymore.
Let's get into our show.
Yeah. Guys, we see all your questions. We will get back to some of these here in a moment, and we're going to go ahead and head over to the first segment though and hit some of these up, and then we'll maybe answer some of those questions along the way. So guys, let's go ahead and get into the Pine and the Shine on week 5 recap. Right now, currently, after the weekend, Alex is sitting at 2-8. I'm sitting at 5-5, and Kevin is sitting at 8-2 on his Pines and his Shines. But let's go ahead and hit up the Pines. How did you fare for your Pines from week 5?
Swing and a miss. Myles Gaskin, I said, would not have a good day going up against the Buccaneers run defense. And boy, was I right about that. Turns out he can catch the ball too. And that's how they utilized him. 10 catches on 10 targets, 74 yards, and 2 freaking touchdowns. Let me tell you how excited I was to read that line. So swing and a miss. My streak continues.
Yes, it does. I'm not going to lie, Alex, I'm going to share the text that you sent us when you were talking with the Pine and Shine, just because it made me giggle, and quite frankly, it might make some of the folks out there giggle when we were talking on that you were talking about your results, and you said that your Pine and your Shines may have to go on the IR for a little bit to get back in there. Yeah. I just wanted to share that one because it made me giggle. So.
3 weeks off. That's what I need.
There you go. So my Pine was Miles Sanders, who had 11 carries for 45 yards and 5 receptions on 5 targets for 6 yards. Hey, guys, you know what happened when I picked the Miles Sanders? He didn't break off an 80-yard touchdown run. First time in the history of the Pines that I did this, and he didn't rip off an 80-yarder.
Yeah, God, he's been terrible this year. I picked Tyler Lockett going up on the Thursday night game against the Rams defense, and it wasn't for lack of trying from Seattle's part, but just a couple deep passes out of the way and a illegal procedure or holding call that brought a touchdown back. But Lockett did stink it up for us, 5 for 10 for 57 yards. Not the performance that we've seen from him, especially the first 3 weeks of the season.
Right, like that was going. I was going, oh man, Kevin's gonna finally miss one, and then that long PI happened, and I was like, oh, that's gonna probably save him. But you definitely called it right there. Let's go ahead and head over to the Shines. How did you fare with your Shines?
Again, terrible. Daniel Jones, who was doing okay until Saquon stepped on a random player's foot and rolled his ankle, which quickly ballooned up to the size of a grapefruit, and then it just went and got worse from there. So Jones, as you can see on the stat line, 5 of 13 for 98 yards, had 3 runs for 9 yards, and also picked up a concussion in the game.
Yep. The Damian Harris, and I contend that was not a fumble in the end zone, but rather a touchdown, which would have changed this to a hit, but alas, it was not the case. So Damian Harris went for 14 carries for 58 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 fumble in the end zone. A miss. I will. I'm going to take the hit with Cortland Sutton, 7 of 11 for 120 yards and a touchdown. He was definitely quiet in the first half, guys. I was really nervous going into halftime of that game, and Teddy found a way to get him involved, and then the deep touchdown as they were trying to get back into the game
there in Pittsburgh. So the touchdown sealed it over the top, and Cortland Sutton with the hit for me this week.
I like it. Kevin definitely sitting atop of the heap right there, playing king of the hill with this one. So good job on you. I'm very eager to wait till we get to the Pine and Shine for this week, so I have an idea for my DFS type of lineups there this weekend. And I'm not taking any of my own. I'm just going off of Kevin's. So I like it. Let's hit up. We're going to hit up about 3 questions here on the chat line before we hit over into the clutch and not so much side of things. The Fantasy Coaches podcast, great group of guys over there. If you haven't, they've got a YouTube channel as well. Check them out. We've had Coach Steve on the show a couple of times, done his show. Amazing group of guys over there. But this question is: Ricky Seals-Jones a sleeper, play, pickup? What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's a team that they're going to have to pass the ball for them to keep pace with the Chiefs there in Washington. Curtis Samuel aggravated his groin, so he's kind of dudding out on us, which is a bummer because I really like Curtis Samuel. And they're going to have to find ways to keep it moving. It can't just be Terry McLaurin and Gibson and McKissick coming out of the backfield. So Ricky Seals-Jones, why the hell not? The game flow will be correct for him to have the most possibilities for success there. So I see nothing wrong with that.
All righty. Ray Gamer chiming in. I have no idea if I will get the Cowboys defense. I put a waiver claim in them, but I will play their defense versus the Patriots if I get them. I might not do the Colts defense versus the Texans. I'd probably roll the Colts versus the Texans.
I would too.
There.
And I was talking with a buddy about this. the idea with streaming defenses, and you have to be committed to doing this, and you have to be on top of your game. But the idea with streaming defenses, and he pointed this out to me, don't just look for this week.
Right.
Look for next week.
Right.
Look for the week after. Like that's the team you want to pick up, right? Look for the favorable matchup, not for this weekend, but for next weekend, right? So if you see that the Texans are playing, whoever, okay, let's see who the next Texans opponent is. Let's pick up that defense if they're available. That way, you can stay ahead of the curve. Likewise, Jaguars. Who are the Jaguars are playing, right? Because we haven't seen much out of their offense. Pick up whoever the Jaguars are playing, not just this weekend, but next weekend as well. And that will lead you to a little bit more success. And then you're confident that you're going up against a bad offense, right? And you're going to have a team, if you're not married to the defense that you've got, and you're just streaming, that's the way that you got to do it. Also, right. I would take the Colts defense against the Texans. I would not take the Cowboys defense. They get too many yards passed on them. I understand that they're going to force some turnovers, and you'll get the points for that, but teams move the ball too well against them.
Yeah, I'd agree with the Colts defense. The Colts defense looked really good the first half on Monday night, guys. Like
they shut down Lamar Jackson.
They got gassed
down.
Right.
Yeah.
They got gassed. The Ravens started going up tempo, a lot of no huddle, and that defensive line got gassed. Some key injuries in the secondary didn't help them very much, but it's from things that I've read early, sounds like they're expecting those guys to come back. It was just they got dinged up and couldn't finish the game. And the Texans have been absolutely putrid on offense. The only real weapon they have is Brandon Cooks. So if you can shut the one guy down, everything else kind of stays quiet. So I think the Colts definitely have the safer floor. The Cowboys probably have the greater potential of, a turnover and returning it for a touchdown, but that's not typically a Belichick offensive MO, right? Like they might turn the ball over, but that team has enough grit that they'll tackle it out. They're not going to let someone run back and score on them.
Right. So this one is a add-on to the one where we are asking, do you have anybody better to drop than Ayuk? And this is what his bench looks like from Greg on YouTube. I would say he's the worst guy. He has Judy in IR, so he's going to need a roster spot. The bench is Pollard, Waddle, Jamal Williams, Mitchell, Higbee, and Ayuk. And tight end's a streamable position, and Tyler Higbee can fall into that streamable deal, but between the two, it's either Higbee or Ayuk for me on a drop there. Any differing opinion?
Why is Pollard on your bench?
Because Pollard's not getting the touches now. We saw 2 weeks worth of blow up, and then it's been feeding Zeke.
I'd say Ayuk is probably the one that you dropped.
I think it is. The way it looks.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good bench. Congratulations.
Nice bench. Yeah,
that's a very nice bench. Yeah, it's nice to have those options. Good for you.
Absolutely. So, guys, let's go ahead and head on over into the next segment of the clutch, not so much, and then we'll come back. I see you guys getting lots of comments in here, lots of questions. We're going to hit our next segment, but we will come back and get some more of your questions here after we get through clutch and not so much. And like we've done all season, we've gone to Sports Me to ask the question of folks who came in clutch and who was not so much. Sports Me is a new fun app that we've all been kind of playing around with. You can interact with us there. You can download the app, all that kind of good stuff, and chime in and give your take on who came in clutch and who came in not so much. And we may see you make an appearance here on the show. Let's go ahead and see who came in clutch and who was not so much.
Hey, last night, Mark Andrews catching everything going his way, making up for, some performances the last 4 weeks. Man, Mark Andrews came through big for me last night. Really excited. Hope he keeps it up. I really do. Lamar looked great last night. And it's funny, he came through clutch, but at the same time, he came through clutch for some other people I was playing against. So have a good one, buddy.
What's going on, man? So clutch for me this week was Austin Eckler. I've got a bunch of shares on him with him, so always love having him on my teams and barely ever lets you down. So he was clutch. And then not so much was TJ Hawkinson. I don't know what's happening there, but I had him pegged for tight end 3 on the year, and at the moment he's fallen off a cliff after the last 2 weeks. So hopefully he picks it back up moving forward and gets back to those first 2 weeks.
Just mentioned it before, but my clutch was Jonathan Taylor. Needed a big week out of him. He's kind of been letting me down so far this season. So last night was solid. Totally came through and solidified my win. My not so much is that piss bag Russell Wilson.
Well, if not for Terry McLaurin's subpar performance this week, I almost would have run the board across 36 leagues. But that's all right. I'm not worried about Terry McLaurin. But my big performer was Kyle Anthony Pitts, baby! Woo! That's probably one of the reasons that I almost ran the board across all my leagues.
Kyle Pitts had a week.
Yes, he did. That was something else too. They, I guess that's what happens when you have a whole lot of folks out on injury there. But shout out to the Joey Wright, Beard 82, Smoky Hill NFL, and LG Native Fryer chiming in there on the Sports Me and giving us their clutches and not so muches. Guys, who was clutch and who was not so much for your fantasy team?
My clutch was Mr. Tom Brady. After being on my not so much list last week, I think he got the memo that was not acceptable, and he showed out. 30 of 41, 411 yards, and 5 tutties.
With like a jacked up thumb too.
Yeah, I mean, who needs a thumb? So TB12 doing his standard greatness type things and carving up that Miami defense. So he's my clutch.
All right, I got a stack for my clutch, and it was the Justin Herbert Mike Williams stack, which turned out to be a very, very nice play for me. Justin Herbert, 26 of 43 for 398 yards, almost got the 400-yard bonus. 4 touchdowns. He added a couple runs and some yards on the ground, but also a rushing touchdown. So 5 total touchdowns just from Justin Herbert. And fortunately, 165 of those 398 yards went to Mike Williams, who had 8 catches and 2 of those 4 touchdowns from Justin Herbert. So that stack was nice this week.
Yep, my clutch and my not so much. I've got to echo the Mark Andrews, who in the home league made that a game, right? My running backs and Terry McLaurin decided that they wanted to try and, take me out of it. Mark Andrews brought that thing back where it was a winnable game, but alas, it was not enough with his 11 for 13, 147 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns on that one. Just was not enough to overcome some of my not so muches like Damian Harris, who I'd already mentioned on my miss for the shine there. So guys, I had an interesting bag there as well. Any final thoughts on the clutch and not so much?
We got to get to our not so muches. My not so much was Saquon, who looked really good his first 2 carries, his only 2 carries. Ripped off a 4-yarder, a 5-yarder. He went out on a pattern and stepped on somebody's foot, and then that was the end of it. So Saquon's my not so much. And then apparently I am just going to be cursed at the tight end position in the home league this year. So we'll throw the tight end in there. Ty Conklin did nothing, and I continue to get no production out of my tight end spot.
Mine not so much was the stack this week of Sam Darnold and DJ Moore. You should be able to move the ball against Philadelphia. I think Carolina forgot that, and instead, Sam Darnold was content in throwing it to the Philadelphia Eagles instead of his own team. He was 21 of 37, only 177 yards with 1 touchdown, 3 picks. DJ Moore, 5 of 7 for 42 yards. Very disappointing. They have been a very nice bright spot here in the Zika virus home league team, and this week, not so much, but I pulled out the W anyway, so don't matter.
I say that was a Sam Darnold New York Jets stat line type of thing that we saw there.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty.
All right, guys, let's hit a couple of more questions here, and then we'll get over to the waiver wire targets. All right, so Juzao saying he's got the same choice to make: Carlson, Folk, McManus, McLaughlin. Any other thoughts on this one? Are you putting McLaughlin in consideration on that from before?
Yeah. McManus or McLaughlin? Probably McManus. He's a little bit more. I find him to be more consistent. I can trust the guy.
There you go. All righty, Bars in the Tuck is asking left field question of the week. I like questions coming out of left field. This could get interesting. My league, a full PPR, gives points for return yards. Should I pick up Jamal Agnew since he's getting targets now? The Jags D to double up if he gets a return tutty. He has a free spot with CEH on IR, and hell, it's the London game.
Weird things happened across the pond.
You're not kidding.
Yeah, what the hell? Right?
It's a fun twist, yeah.
Yeah, that's fun. Points for return yards. Why not?
Keeps you vested in it.
Yeah.
That would be probably the one way that you could get wake up early to watch that game. So you got somebody playing in it.
Yeah.
All right, another one coming in. Ray Gamer on YouTube. I think he says he has Madison on his bench just in case Cook is out.
Good.
He
has Williams, Sanders, Gaskin on waivers, so I'm hopefully get all of them maybe.
Jesus.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes. Alexander Madison is a must.
Yes.
Yeah, you need Madison.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. You think it's time to drop Corey Davis? He also has a bye week this week.
No.
Kevin loves Corey Davis.
I was going to leave that to our resident Corey Davis expert.
No, you just need to keep tuning into the show. I'll tell you when Corey Davis is going to boom. He's not going to boom this week because he's on a bye. So
hard-hitting analysis here.
I really wouldn't drop Corey Davis. I just really wouldn't. So give it a little bit of time. Again, London does weird things. Like, yes, he should have had a better game against the Atlanta Falcons, but really that entire New York Jets team should have had a better game against the Atlanta Falcons, and they all just kind of went across the pond and stunk the bed up. So I don't think that Corey Davis, he's at least not a guy that I'm planning on dropping in my home league. Like, someone's going to have to offer me something very comparable and pretty nice to get me to leave him alone, because I at least trust that he's going to see volume week in and week out.
Yeah, I would agree. Jesse's on YouTube. Yo, you guys offer fantasy trade help? He's got a toughie in an 18-man league. Absolutely. Jesse, go ahead and throw your question in the comments, and we can walk with it with you.
18-man league, good.
Yeah, those are always interesting when you get into some of those. So, Cash is stylish chiming in. Welcome back, Cash. Always a pleasure when we see you in the chat there. Guys, he's got Devontae Booker or Darrell Williams been getting butchered by injuries. He's talking the waiver wire. So, who you picking up off the waiver wire, Devontae Booker or Darrell Williams?
I'm grabbing Darrell Williams if it's between the two of them. We'll see what Saquon's injury leads him up to, but we've seen Devontae Booker try and have the run all to himself before, and it hasn't been overly pretty. They play the Rams this week, and then who the hell do they play? They play the Rams, and then they have a game that you'll want Devontae Booker, and then they play the Chiefs. And then the Chiefs have like Washington, then Tennessee, and then the Giants. Like the schedule's set up right now for Darrell Williams to have a better 3-game stretch. So he's the guy that I'm looking for if I'm getting desperate, like it sounds like you are because of the injuries and need running back depth.
The Giants, by the way, they have the Rams, the Panthers, and then the Chiefs.
Yeah, thank you, the Panthers.
Yeah. Very good. All righty, guys. So we are all caught up on questions. Again, Jesse's, if you get that question in here, we will hit that one up and rock and roll with you. Guys, let's go ahead and head on over into the waiver wire here, and we'll go ahead and touch on some waivers. Go ahead and start with the quarterback here. So far, not much out there right now. Heineke, Roethlisberger, Geno, rank them 1, 2, 3 as far as your pickup priority if you have to have one.
In that order. Maybe.
I would agree with this order.
All right. So do I, because I put it that way. All righty. So let's go ahead and head over to the running back room here. And you've got Darrell Williams, Mark Ingram, Samaje Perine, Devontae Booker, Khalil Herbert, Brandon Bolden, Ramondre Stevenson, and Jerick McKinnon. Personally, I'm probably going to end up moving McKinnon up a little bit there, but what are you guys' thoughts here?
I'm trying to figure out what the recent love affair with Mark Ingram's been. And it's not just this, Derek, but I've heard his name pop up in a lot of random circles for me today, and I can't understand why. Darrell Williams, yes. Perine, I'd drop him down. He's on the COVID list. Devontae Booker and Ramondre Stevenson, I would actually move up the list ahead of Mark Ingram and Samaje Perine.
Okay. Alex, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm Williams, I think, is the clear number one. Jet McKinnon is an interesting one, but again, you're fighting, Darrell Williams there. Perine looked good last weekend, but again, who knows if that was just, flash in the pan and that was just the way that things shook out. Booker, I think, is a two-week run, but it's not the best 2 weeks to have him. Depending on when, what more we hear about Saquon. I heard they were just trying to, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. So that might be a good 2 week run there, but it's not great. So yeah, I'm okay with this. I'm also curious about the Ingram love because Houston is they're not there.
All righty. Let's go ahead and head over to the wide receivers here. And I can tell you right now that I'm not happy with my own list. So there'll be some changes with this one for sure. But I want to get some opinions on this one as well. So right now, and I'm going to go all the way down to about 10 here. Hunter Renfrow, McCole Hardman, Curtis Samuel, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Rondale Moore, Josh Gordon, T.Y. Hilton, Rashad Bateman, Randall Cobb, Jamison Crowder. I will be moving Kadarius Toney way up the list there. you'll probably see Jamison Crowder drop out there. But let's get your guys' thoughts here on the waiver wires for wide receivers.
I would take Curtis Samuel off. With the groin injury, it's just not there. And in fact, I'd definitely shuffle around. Kadarius Toney, I'd move up to somewhere in the top 3. Hunter Renfrow, absolutely. Should be up there. Amon-Ra St. Brown is continuing to see some more targets for the Lions. They got to throw the ball to somebody since they're not throwing it to TJ Hawkinson. I agree with that from the Sports Me Spicy take. What the hell? Josh Gordon saw a couple targets against the Bills, but he's still kind of clearly trying to get the shake of the offense. And T.Y. Hilton and Rashard Bateman, I kind of like right there. They're both flyers in the dark.
Yeah, kind of stashes for later.
So the guy that I think would be my biggest target on this list, I like Renfrow 1 there, but the guy that I'm looking at, Rondale Moore, especially considering that Cleveland just gave up 45 points to Justin Herbert and company. Kyler's right there in terms of being able to find guys. So Rondale Moore is a guy, and I know that there's other options in Arizona, but to me, this Cleveland defense just showed that they don't really have much in the way of stopping the passing game. So Rondale Moore would be a guy that I'd really, really target this week.
All righty. I like it. Let's go ahead and head over to the tight ends here. Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram, Dan Arnold, David Njoku, Ricky Seals-Jones, and Ross Dwelly. What are your thoughts on this one?
I'd probably switch Dan Arnold and Ricky Seals-Jones and then leave the list as is.
Any further thoughts, Alex?
No, that's good. Yeah, I would, Ricky Seals-Jones could be a good sleeper play, and as we talked earlier, but yeah, Hunter Henry, Evan Ingram are obviously top 2 on that.
All righty. I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go ahead. We got a couple of questions here. Then we're going to hit up our Thursday night slate here. So Ray on YouTube, I asked my commissioner for an IR spot in this league, but unfortunately, nope. That's one of those, you always got to figure that kind of stuff out during the off season, especially if this is a continual league. Like bring that stuff up in February, March, May, in that kind of time frame. Get a vote out there, those kind of things. That's how we do it in our home league.
Also, I don't know if you guys know this, but people can just test positive for the virus that's going around. So an IR spot is a very good idea, so that you don't lose somebody who's unavailable for a week for nothing that they've done other than catch a virus. That would be a good idea moving forward, to just make sure that you have those built-in safety nets.
Right, and that's something like in our home league as well. We over this last actually before the 2020 season, we added another IR spot, even though we already had a couple in there to help combat some of those. So again, that's one of those, you bring up those conversations after the season's done and get the league on board and vote on it. That kind of good stuff is how we do that in the home league. So Cassius Silas is, the matchups are tough for the Giants. His injuries have been Judy, Harris, Barkley, Julio, and Monty. And oh my goodness, you're cursed, man. you got hit. You got hit hard.
Yeah, you did.
So
that's bad.
All right. So Ray Gamer saying the worst mistake was me picking Cook over Henry with the second overall pick. I had Henry last year and the year before. I'll be saying that all year. Absolutely.
Revisionist history, right? I mean, we really thought that there had to be some sort of regression to the Derrick Henry train, and week 1, you thought, hey, I made the right pick, right? Because Cook had a good game and Henry looked like a bum. And then week 2 on, the scripts kind of flipped. But it is revisionist history, right? Like, it's really easy to go back and say, coulda, woulda, shoulda. But you had to trust the homework and the analysis that you did and going through that. And yes, Dalvin Cook got dinged up, and it's kind of right here in the meat of the season. But if he can shake this injury bug, and if the Vikings are waiting for him to truly be healthy before giving him a workload again, hopefully Cook will be good for you down the stretch. get you into the playoffs and then hopefully create some noise when it comes into the dance.
Absolutely. So Ray Gamer, he asked for the IR spots before the draft and asked for them. He asked for them before the draft started.
Ask Carter next time.
Right. Like that's one of those that, yeah, that's one of those two.
If you know your commissioner, just go kick him in the shins.
Right. Right. The other thing too, if you don't necessarily know them or the shins aren't easily accessible, right? Like find yourself a league where, you know, the league is voting on things. The league is active in these decisions, things like that. Like we've all been commissioners in leagues and are currently commissioners in leagues. So that's one of the best pieces of advice that I'll give any commissioner out there is listen to what the league is looking for and listen for what the league is, is going to make that league better. Like that's part of the job of the commissioners to make sure everybody's having fun and make it better for everyone. Cassius Silas, every year I go like 4-1, then get hit with injuries. It's crazy frustrating. Last year he had OBJ, Dak, Mixon, and like 2 other guys on my bench with season enders. Yep.
You're just Cash. You're cursed, man. That stinks. That stinks so much.
We've all been there. I do feel for you. That is no fun there. So guys, let's go ahead and head on over into the Thursday night game. Thursday night slate. It is, it's not necessarily on paper, a matchup that is screaming, watch me. But those Thursday night games have yet to disappoint here. And I think this one has a lot of sneaky potential to be a good game and a fun game to watch there. The Buccaneers are 7-point favorites going to Philadelphia to play the Eagles. The over-under 51.5. What are your thoughts on this guy?
So I'm a little nervous about Tom's hand injury. I saw at his press conference today that thing was wrapped up pretty good. So I'm a little nervous about that. But he played most of that game on Sunday with the hand injury and then still threw 5 touchdowns. So while nervous, not all that concerned. I will take the Bucs -7 to cover easily. This is probably, they probably win by 2 touchdowns over the Eagles. And I'll take the over at 51.5.
I concur with Alex, which scares the crap out of me, but I have the Bucs in the over in this game.
Yeah. I actually took the Eagles in the under. I think that this one, the Tom hand injury also scares me off a little bit here as well. But I think what I think is going to happen is I think that the Bucs are going to have like a 9-point lead coming down to it. And the Eagles kick a sneaky field goal to get a backdoor cover type of thing. And really kind of see this one ending in a like 24-18 type of game. Like that's kind of how I see this one playing out there. So Fred Gramer saying he also drafted CEH over Kupp and Lamb. I got Hunt in the 9th round. So yep, you got some good capital there. I've actually got CEH and Lamb on our home league there, and yep.
I'm fortunate that CEH is out for 3 weeks, but
that's very true.
Take it.
Very true. Cassius Stylish chiming in. It's crazy. I swear I'll draft a great team and the best through 5 weeks and watch everyone brutally and gruesomely shatter their anatomy.
Cash, I'm going to need you to leak your draft before I go into any drafts, just so I can avoid who you're taking, so that I don't end up in the same boat that you are.
That's one strategy there. That's a strategy I haven't heard of.
I'll be awful the first 6 weeks of the season, but my God, will my team be healthy the rest of the way?
Well, there you go. You know what they say? Sometimes the best ability is just availability on that one. Yeah. So I like it. And Cash chimed in again, just saying, haha, I got you guys. We appreciate you tuning in, Cash, every episode with us. Always a pleasure to see you in there. And Alex, he says further that if you want to go 5-0 through 5, I'm your guy. All right.
Perfect.
Yep. And then Ray saying is, other than his starters, they're looking good. All right, guys. So let's go ahead, and we've got the pine and the shine to get to for week 6. So let's go ahead and talk about some pines and some shines week 6. Let's start with the shines this week.
All right, let's start with the shines. And obviously, given my track record of only 2 hits on a pine and shine through 5 weeks, take this with a grain of salt, everybody. So my shine is going to be Naji Harris. He had a big game last week against Denver. The Seahawks have the 2nd worst rush defense in the NFL, and they're not going to have Russell Wilson. So I think that the Steelers maybe figured some things out against Denver. Seattle's run defense is not as good as Denver's run defense, and Naji was still able to get his. So I say Naji, and I also think without Russell Wilson, the Steelers will be playing with a plus game script, which means more run time for your running back. So Naji Harris is my shine for week 6.
I like it.
He'll probably
Kevin,
go 10 yards on 6 carries.
There you go. But then he'll have 20 catches.
I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers this week. Going up against the Cowboys defense at home. We saw what Kadarius Toney just did against them. Myers isn't quite the athlete that Toney is, but he can see a lot of volume. So in PPR leagues, I definitely like him as a flex option this week. So Jacoby Myers is going to be my shine of the week.
I like it. My shine of the week is going to be Javonte Williams. I think that he's going to have a stellar game. It really has been looking pretty good. You're starting to see some of that where, Melvin Gordon's not necessarily getting as much run through these things, and it's starting to look like that torch is starting to get passed. And Javonte Williams just has that juice to make things kind of pop, and you see some big plays. I can see some big plays starting to happen on this one as well. So I'm going to go with Javonte Williams, like the matchup, like what I've been seeing here. The Raiders have been giving up a ton of points to opposing fantasy running backs, and that team probably is going through some things there that could potentially allow for a big game from him as well. So Javonte Williams is my shine. Let's go ahead and head right into the Pines. Who you got for your Pines?
I'll kick us off here. My pine is OBJ. I am washing my hands of OBJ, and that really hurts to say because I had him on my team for so many years, and he's such a fun guy to watch. But it's not happening there in Cleveland, and so I don't expect this week to be any different going up against the Cardinals. So OBJ, pine him.
I'll have a discussion question. We'll do this after the pine, but we'll discuss it after pine. I'll ask it now before I forget. Is OBJ still on Cleveland by the end of this season? We'll talk about that after we get through this pine segment. My pine is Miles Sanders. I'm still sticking with the dang Tampa Bay has the best run defense, even though Myles Gaskin had 10 freaking catches last week. But Miles Sanders, not much of a receiving threat out of the backfield. And by the way, I mean, Jalen Hurts, he's going to go 1-2 read and then tuck it and run. So doesn't really get to that dump off option. So Miles Sanders is the pine this week for me. I just don't think it's going to be easy sledding trying to run on Tampa Bay, and with his not great ability to catch out of the backfield, I just don't think he's going to have a good week.
Yeah, mine is going to hurt to say, but it's going to be CeeDee Lamb going up against New England this week. The New England defense has been all right against opposing fantasy wide receivers there. And quite frankly, looking at my own fantasy roster there, you've seen where I have 1 week where either Terry McLaurin does well or CeeDee Lamb does well. They can't seem to do that side by side for me. So that being the case, I am going to have to say it's CeeDee Lamb just based off the matchup there. And I do believe that you're going to see New England's going to try and take away something with it, and whether that's the ground game or the pass game, I think they're going to try and take away more of the passing game because that's where they can try and keep that game a little bit closer and keep it a little bit lower scoring affair and plays more in how they're looking to play it. So my shine is going to be, or my pine is going to be CeeDee Lamb. So guys, any other thoughts on the pine and shine before we move on? Alrighty, guys. So, Alex, before we get to your discussion question, we have one more coming in. Philly Mike on YouTube saying he's struggling really hard on his DraftKings lineup this week. I didn't start Adams last week versus Cincinnati, and I regretted it. He's expensive to start, but if I start him, I'm having trouble finding cheaper wide receivers. Any suggestions?
Sorry, I'm going through it here.
He means DFS here? Yeah?
Yep, DraftKings lineup this week, so it's a DFS type of deal.
I'm out. I'm not good at DFS, mainly because I don't play it, so I'll defer.
I'll go Diggs. Oh, no, because you need the Sunday slate, huh? So you can't go Diggs against the Titans. Let's see here. If you're backing off of...
So he's either looking for some cheap wide receivers or some other pivots, I think, for Davante Adams there.
Well, I think if you're looking to find value in places to create cash flow in others, I think Deontay Johnson going up against Seattle is a option. We saw what the Rams were able to do carving up that defense. Yes, we saw what the Rams were able to do going up against that defense. And with Juju being out, not that he was seeing a ton of volume, but it is going to force just the opportunities more towards him and Claypool. Again, I think Jacoby Myers is a sneaky, cheap option for DFS going up against the Cowboys that can play as one of your flex spots to create value other places. As far as if you're going big-time receivers, let me ponder that for a second here, and I'll get back to him.
Okay, so while you're pondering that, I'm gonna plug our Sunday morning gentleman that comes on the show every single Sunday to talk DFS. He's one of the best out there. You may have come across him. He's at Detroit Beastie on Twitter, and he has the bottom of the barrel that he publishes every week there. So, Philly Mike, I'm kind of in Alex's boat. I am not. I don't feel good enough at DFS myself to be really recommending some great options there, but I do know a guy that can help you out with that and some of the cheaper wide receivers. So what I would suggest for you is to find Detroit Beastie and check out his bottom of the barrel that he does. So that would be kind of my expert opinion is find is take a look at him. Kevin's also got some great thoughts for you there as well. I know Kevin does a lot more DFS than I do as well. So Kevin, any thoughts on the higher end guys?
I think Jefferson's a good play this week. I like him. Let's see here. Where's the other one I had? I think this is going to be a Mike Evans week up against Philly Thursday night game. Sorry, I'm pivoting. I think Kadarius Toney's still a play. Trying to go back to the well on that one a little bit. I think that could help you.
John Ross in that same game might not be a bad idea.
Type options. DJ Moore, I think the Panthers, that's the team name I'm thinking of. I think they bounce back. So you can have that Jefferson and Moore kind of combination because they're in the same game playing against each other. So I do think that that's an option there. And then obviously there's Tyreek against Washington, or go to the Robert Woods and see Robert Woods against the Giants. So I think there's some options there at wide receiver where you don't have to pay up for Adams completely. You can pivot down a little bit, create some more value, and then maybe sneak that in and try and get a Mark Andrews. I think Darren Waller's going to have a good week against the Broncos. They don't cover the tight end very well, so this might be a really good Darren Waller week. Some different options like that to help you out, along with you still have Dalton Schultz and Hunter Henry as options too in a game that will feature a lot of passing.
Gotcha. Clock Management chiming in on the YouTube saying, "What's up, guys?" Clock Management, we've had him on the show before. Great group of guys over there. Thanks for tuning in and watching. Alrighty. I got one more there. I saw that. Philly Mike also saying breaking news, trade alerts. They've got a Derrick Henry right now for Devontae Adams, DeAndre Swift, and Dawson Knox.
That might be one of the fairest trades I've seen come across for Derrick Henry. It's not. You definitely take the downgrade at running back, but depending on what your upgrade at receiver looks like, and at tight end, that might be something that's worth considering.
Swift has been getting okay run there in Detroit. Like, he's been doing all right. I mean, it's not Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is dominant right now. And Adams is going to get his. So that is a pretty fair trade. But man, that's tough to say goodbye to Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he's been so darn consistent. So, yeah, I think it really just depends on what your team needs. So, Philly Mike, Tyreek Hill isn't playing versus Washington this week. He's out. I don't believe that to be the case. I know that he has suffered an injury there, but the reports that I saw is that it's a minor injury and that he's unlikely to miss time. So I would keep an eye on that down the week, throughout the week, Mike. But all indications that I've read is that it's a minor injury and that he's unlikely to miss time. So, Ray Gamer, have a great night. Thanks for tuning in. I want the guy in the Dolphins.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that reads.
I don't get that one. Am I at?
All right.
Dolphins. All right, sure.
Thrive Fantasy. I got one more segment to kick your guys' ass in.
All right. Let's go ahead and head there.
Thank you. That's what we think about that.
All righty, guys. So if you're looking for a new way to play DFS, download the Thrive Fantasy app today on the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Use the promo code GOBFF or click the link that we've got in the description down there. So we'll get back to some of these questions here in a moment. And here we go. So, guys, we've got some interesting props here, some things like that. We're going to each pick one of the props for the Thursday night game on this one. Right now, as the points currently set, I went back through and added up all the points for our current season here on this. Alex, you are the cellar dweller, my friend, at 180 points on this one. Kevin has 210, and I'm sitting with the front runner at 330 points. All right, we've got this week. Here we go. What are your thoughts?
All right. I've got some points to make up, apparently. I don't like your math, but whatever. We'll do that. It's
not my fault that you can't pick.
I said it earlier that he belongs on the pine. So I'm taking Miles Sanders under 0.5. I'm saying Miles Sanders isn't going to score a rushing or a receiving touchdown. So I say Miles Sanders under 0.5 of a rush or receiving touchdown. That will get me 115 points when that comes to fruition. Inevitably, Miles Sanders is going to have probably 6 touchdowns in this game, break the NFL record. That's what's going to happen.
Not a chance. I got to catch up some ground to the leader here, so I'm going big here. This is the biggest point gap I could find on our bets here for this week. I'm going to go Devonta Smith over 7.5 receptions against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Thursday night.
I like it. It's bold, but it could pan out there. I could see it happening. And you know what? If Devonta Smith is going to get 7.5 receptions, so 8 receptions plus, that means Jalen Hurts is going to be throwing the ball to him. And so I took Jalen Hurts over 296.5 rushing and passing yards, which would be 100-point type of deal there. So, Kevin, I have a feeling that we may, even if we get both of these right, you'll at least catch some ground there. But it could be very interesting how this thing comes to play. Any
He's
other
going to go
thoughts?
16 for 45 for like 87 yards, and 8 of the 16 will go to Devonta Smith. We'll be all right.
You very well may be right, but he also may pick up 100 on the ground too. Just that I like what Alex's thoughts were on this one. 1-2 and run. So I love it.
It's interesting. We all went on
yeah.
the Eagles side of this.
Yeah, we really did. That's because none of the Bucks points were really worth it. I mean, it's so favored to the over on some of these, or just the one that is not going to happen on the Bucks side.
Yeah, like I like the Tom Brady, over 306.5, but it's only 105 points. Like it doesn't do me any good to try and get that. Is trying to crawl back in it, I guess. And I didn't like the under 4.5 receptions for Chris Godwin. So
I like it. Alrighty. So we've got a couple of questions here, and then we're going to head right to Alex's opinion thought there that he was wanting to hit to, and then we're going to wrap up the show.
Oh yeah.
So guys, we're going to hit up the questions in the we're going to hit up all the questions in the the comments there. Words are tough at this point. And then we're going to get into this final segment here and call it a night. So Joshua on YouTube, thinking about selling Sutton high and getting Miles Sanders. The hard pass for me. No.
Yeah, hard pass.
No.
not Miles Sanders. If you're wanting to sell Sutton high, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with trying to capitalize on a great week. Not Miles Sanders. Sutton and maybe something for Josh Jacobs or some combination of, but Miles Sanders is not a guy that I would want to target. It'd be nothing but headaches for you.
Right. And Sutton gets volume that Miles Sanders just doesn't get. So that would be where I'm looking at as well. So Philly Mike was saying that he wants the opinion on the trade. The guy in the Dolphins blue shirt.
Is that me? Is that me that we're talking about?
Philly Mike is
yes.
that
Yes. Is this it's actually a green shirt, which is funny.
It looks more the camera's not doing it justice.
Yeah. Okay. So you want my opinion on the Derrick Henry?
So
yeah, because I don't like saying goodbye to Derrick Henry. I mean, Derrick Henry is to me, like I just don't give up Derrick Henry.
So
that's why I shook my head right away, because any trade involving Derrick Henry that doesn't come back with, a bigger haul, which Devontae Adams and Deandre Swift, that's a nice haul, but it's Derrick
and Dawson Knox
Henry.
is in there too.
Right. Great. That's a great haul, but it's Derrick freaking Henry.
So yeah,
roster construct.
Yeah, that's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And to be fair, like Alex, I've dealt with Alex for a number of years in some of these trades and some of those things. And when you get a running back like Derrick Henry, I will tell you from firsthand personal experience there that it doesn't matter. Like there's times that you could be throwing I don't even
You
know.
throw the book at me and it's going to be tough. Yeah.
You could literally probably throw Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift, Terry McLaurin out there at it, and Alex is probably still going to go, nah, I need more than that for Derrick Henry. Like he rode Derrick Henry all the way to a championship last year in his first one in the home league. So I think that's a lot of why that is. Philly Mike, hopefully that answered your question there, but I see that you did get another one in there. Would you trade CeeDee Lamb and Antonio Gibson for Justin Jefferson and DeAndre Swift? Yes, I would. And that's painful for me to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think so. With Jefferson being kind of the clear alpha in the limited Minnesota passing game this year for whatever the hell's going on up there at the moment. Swift's still getting some run in Detroit. I would do it. It wouldn't come easy necessarily, but I think overall how the season's going, it would make the most sense for you.
Yep.
Go ahead, Derek. Go ahead.
Okay, so why I'm looking to do this is Justin Jefferson has been better than CeeDee Lamb this year, and I think that's going to continue on this one because of how you see Dallas looking to win games. They're looking to run the ball, set the tone, and not win games by having Dak Prescott throw the ball 40 or 50 times a game. So that was one of the big things that we all thought coming into the season as to why CeeDee Lamb would be would be that guy, right? Justin Jefferson is continuing to put up great numbers, great targets there. When I look, so on that side of it, Justin Jefferson greater than CD Lamb for this season right now. When Kevin's getting ready to rain on my parade, I have a feeling.
No, not at all. I'm saying looking at Dallas's schedule here for the remainder of the season, it's very favorable to continue the game script that we've seen with them running the ball. So while CD Lamb is the exceptional talent and probably the most talented guy in there, I don't see too many games where the Cowboys are really going to be trailing and need to dig themselves out of a hole. Like the shootout possibly with Kansas City in week 11. But other than that, honestly, guys, their schedule's really stinking favorable for the remainder of the season. So CeeDee Lamb may not be as relevant as we thought he would be just because of how things are shaking out in the NFL. And I think that kind of gears towards it's not a bad idea to move him, especially when you can get that type of value for a guy who's underperformed his draft position.
Right. And when you look at it too, Antonio Gibson versus DeAndre Swift, they've performed pretty close to each other. Antonio Gibson's has outperformed DeAndre Swift right now at the moment, but those stress fractures in the shins kind of scare me off a little bit on that one, just because of the fact of, what happens if Washington football team falls further out of the race and they're not in a playoff type of deal. I could see them shutting him down early and letting him get an early start on a road to recovery there. So I could see some of that playing as well. So I think that you're getting a better deal on the Jefferson and Swift side. Alex, any other thoughts there?
Yeah, with CeeDee Lamb, we've seen what the Cowboys, like how they want to operate their offense, right? And that is not with Dak Prescott. Like week 1 was an aberration of that they were just taking advantage of what Tampa was giving them and throwing the football 40 times. CeeDee Lamb, the only reason that like a hesitancy on that is like you never know about Amari Cooper. Like it always seems like Amari Cooper has some sort of nagging injury, and eventually that nagging injury will catch up, but it won't. It just seems like he won't miss a ton of time with it, but there will be a week where CeeDee Lamb becomes a focal point because of that. But Justin Jefferson, in my opinion, as the clear one there in Minnesota, is just in terms of volume, he's going to see the football more. And then we kind of are starting to figure out now what they want to do in Detroit, and it's not going to be crazy points. But they're going to try to run the football. Like they want to be more physical than the other team. They're not there yet, but running the football is a big part of what they're trying to do up there. So to me, I think I'd lean, it isn't, clear cut, like 55-45. I'd lean Jefferson Swift over CeeDee Lamb Gibson.
I like it. All right. Last one here. Ricky Seals-Jones or versus Kansas City or Zach Ertz, Tampa Bay. One word answer. Who you got?
This one hurts to say.
Ertz, if Goddard can't play because of COVID.
Yeah.
Right.
Tampa Bay's pass defense is just so bad.
Bad. Yeah. Co-sign on what my co-host said.
But man, will Jalen Hurts actually get to the Zach Ertz read,
He's
before he pulls it down? I don't know that he does because the pass defense is bad, but that rush is good. I mean, so does he get to that read enough times for Zach Ertz to be, a factor? That to me is the biggest question mark.
Right. All righty. So we'll go ahead and wrap up the questions there. Alex, you had an opinion that you were looking for. What is that?
Yeah, it was I was listening on the radio today and it kind of did spark a thought. Will Odell Beckham Jr. be a member of the Cleveland Browns when the end of the season hits?
Yes.
Yeah, I think they're paying him too much and they're not going to find a team willing to take on the salary. Unless it's like a 6th, 7th round pick.
Yeah. So the radio, the show that I was listening to, brought up a very interesting point. It was Colin Cowherd. It just happens to be who I had on the radio. I would say he said, what if Aaron Rodgers comes in and says, "Hey, how about a 3rd round third round pick, and we'll throw some cash at him, whatever the Packers situation is. Teams can find ways to work the books at this point in the season. You find ways to work the books if you want to get a guy on your roster. But would OBJ make sense in Green Bay? Do you guys think OBJ would make sense in Green Bay?
No.
Rodgers could handle it. He needs a quarterback that, like an Antonio Brown and Tom Brady. He needs a quarterback that is clearly going to be the alpha in there. But Rodgers could handle it. So would that work? It gets him out of the AFC, so the Browns don't have to deal with him. They don't have to watch him, beat them in a conference championship game should they make it that far.
It could work, but that's not the Packers' MO.
You're right. It really isn't.
Plus the fact too that
But you think contract is the biggest hang up here? The money is the biggest hang up?
I think
value, yeah. You got to find something to get, and if they're going to be paying him, most likely stuck with X amount of said salary, they're going to want some sort of compensation. And at least if he's on their roster, he can do something for them. But he needs a fresh start. It just ain't working. He needs a change of scenery to see if it's just the fact that he got sucked into a run-first offense and it's not really his style, or if he's really just fallen that far from grace in a matter of 2.5 seasons.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of my thoughts there, as well as the fact that you're not going to find a team willing to take that on for the production that he's given. So very cool. What's up, Alex?
Nothing.
Okay. So, guys, I do believe that that's going to take us to the end of it. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers or the listeners?
It's bye week time. Pay attention. There are bye weeks. Pay attention.
Bye weeks and injuries. Make sure you're paying attention to your waiver wire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that Game of Thrones thing, winter is coming. The bye weeks are coming. So
bye weeks are here.
It's true. That is true. So, alrighty, guys. Well, I do believe that is going to take us down to the end of it. Do appreciate everybody chiming in, tuning in. We always appreciate all your questions and thoughts there. We do this show live for you 3 times a week. We go Tuesday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern, Friday nights, 11 p.m. Eastern, and Sunday mornings, 11:45 a.m. Eastern. So, make sure that you guys are tuning in to all of those. And Philly Mike, game of the week. The game of the week, Kevin and I go through the entire slate of games. We just hit up the Thursday night game tonight. Kevin and I will break down all of the weekend slate and Monday night game when we do our Friday night show. Be sure you tune in 11 p.m. Friday for that one, 11 p.m. Eastern. But for Kevin and Alex, I'm Derek. Have a good one. Be safe. Do us a favor. Head over to the YouTube channel and click the subscribe button.